Welcome to the Pixel Retentive Podcast, where we, a business owner and an artist, discuss the business of art and the art of business. Hey friends, I'm Carl, founder of Epic Made, and I'm the host of the Pixel Retentive Podcast, where we share our thoughts on creativity, art, and business. Past guests include Seth Waite with Schaefer, Robin Sloan, music executive behind brands like Nirvana and Weezer, and Kalika Sharma, creative director and NYU professor. I am forever grateful for the supporters of our podcast, and we are always looking for more sponsors. That said, Pixel Retentive is brought to you by the creative gurus at Epic Made. Epic Made is a creative studio that brings entertainment quality, animation, and illustrations to brands that want to stand out in gaming, tech, and pop culture. We help companies tell stories that resonate with nerdy, imaginative audiences and turn viewers into communities. Visit getepicmade.com and let's collaborate on your next campaign. All right, so with us today, we have Michael Prince. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Really excited to have you. All right, so Michael was basically born to be an industrial designer. He's a Syracuse University grad. He's worked with iconic brands like IBM, Sony, and Thomson Consumer Electronics before founding his company Beyond Design over 32 years ago. As an independent consultant, he's helped teams solve widely different design challenges by blending creativity, strategy, and hands-on problem solving. These days, Beyond Design is pushing things forward with rapid iteration and 3D printing, designing, building, testing, and refining faster to get better ideas to market sooner. Well, that sounds pretty awesome, Michael. Sounds like you just have fun all day making cool things and tinkering around in the workshop, you know?
I try. It keeps us busy. It's the 3D printing, like we were just talking about. It really is. I've got an idea. Let's build it. Let's see how it works. Oh, wow, I can make it better. So that iterative process has really changed over the years.
Yeah, I imagine you've seen some stuff over the 32 years. And 3D printing, you know, I feel like it boomed like about 10 years ago, give or take. And it's just been fascinating ever since. And I was just sharing with you earlier that I finally got a 3D printer. And like, you know, I'm a self-proclaimed createaholic. So I've just been exploding. This thing's been running around the clock for weeks. Like every time something's done, I'm like, oh, what's the next thing I can print? I'm gonna print a little dragon head for the wall or whatever. And, you know, like I said, I made my little logo over there and I printed it out and then I painted it, made it look cool. So I'm like colliding my art degree with my graphic design and my, you know, just tinkering on the digital side. It's really cool to be able to take something from concept to like a physical thing in your hands so quickly now. It's powerful.
Yeah. Well, that's what attracted me to industrial design just really in the beginning. It was starting with an idea, being able to sketch that, and then being able to make that. I always had that annoying uncle who was like, oh, wow, can you make me one of those? And it's like, well, gee, it took me, let's see, 96 hours to make this one. No, I'm not going to make another one just for you. And when I found out about industrial design, it was like, well, wait a minute, I take that one idea, but I design it for manufacturing. And now, sure, I'd love to make you one and your friends one, and I'd love to, make it worldwide.
That's amazing. So, yeah, I say all the time, if I didn't get into like storytelling and the graphic design and illustration, I definitely would have got into industrial engineering and industrial design. I love this stuff, and it's cool now that like it's easier to access now that we have these things. So I got my gears turned, and so I can't wait to get into this episode. It's going to be awesome. Before we jump in too deep, though, I would like for the audience to get to know you a little bit better. So, you know, you said you've been in the industry for 32 years. Sounds like you've done some stuff since you were a kid. So, you know, the first part of this question is how long have you been in the industry? So if there's any additional qualifications to that, let me know. And then the second part is what project are you most proud of so far?
Oh, wow. Well, I've been in business for 32 years, but prior to that, I had worked for these other companies that you'd mentioned. And so I probably have more like about 45 years worth of experience in industrial design.
Wow.
Um, I've done it from inside corporations where, I worked as part of the entire team with marketing, business strategists, design was in there. And then I've also been consultant, and as a consultant, really supporting those larger companies. And it's even been changing over the last bunch of years where it's gone from corporations that we're supporting to a lot of independent inventors. inventors that have really good ideas. They might have worked for other companies that they're breaking off of, but they have the funds now with a lot of angel investors and different way people are raising funds to make their idea a reality. And they
Yeah.
don't necessarily have a company where they have all the people. And so we're one of those resources that they're going to outsource to get the job done.
Yeah, and that's amazing. So you guys are running support now, and you're seeing that change where, like you said early on, it was only the big companies can really do this, and only the big companies are hiring you. And now there's these whole other avenues where like inventing things is more accessible than ever. And we were talking about that product earlier. I'd love for you to share about that some more, but that's a really cool thing where it's this card sorter for Magic the Gathering things, right? And that's essentially what you're talking about. Like
Mhm.
30 years ago, there wasn't those types of clients, right?
There weren't those types of clients, or if there were, it still goes back, they'd be a small company. They wouldn't necessarily be a single entrepreneur raising capital and funds. It was just a different way of raising money, I guess you could say. Right now, people have the capital and they're willing to make the investment if they see that there's going to be a return on that investment. There's no guarantees, but it's really up to the clients to pretty much sell their idea, not just to us, but to their clients and their supporters, their backers, who are going to be the ones that are going to lead the way to make it a success. So,
It's super cool. It's almost like they're back in the previous days, you had to at least come up with an idea, build a business plan, and get somebody to fund it, right? And nowadays, like I have this really great idea, and all I need is just to be able to articulate visually to the internet of my idea and convince them that they should back me on a Kickstarter or a Patreon or I forget what the other Kickstarter platform is. I've used it before in the past, but I don't know. Anyway, yeah,
yeah, so it's changed because as a design consultant, it used to be very weary, like, oh, you're an entrepreneur, you really don't know what you're doing, you don't have the funds, you're not going to be able to make it. And we would shy away from them. Where it's really changed because now they're able to get the capital and they're able to bring the teams together to actually be successful. And I
yeah,
do have a project that we're working on that's on Kickstarter right now that was funded, and I can talk about that as well.
great. Yeah, yeah, I'd love to talk about it. I think the audience would love that. So, we talked about it a little bit before the show, but this is basically a little contraption, if you will, that you put your Magic the Gathering cards in. It scans them and sorts them and puts them into different cubbies, so that you don't have to do that. And that's really cool because also on the show we've had two Magic the Gathering artists who've actually created the art for some of these cards, presumably maybe not these specific ones that are in these ads, but yeah, I'd love to hear about the process that this inventor went through and then when they brought you in and like some of the just that whole flow, right? Because I think there's always creative people have ideas. It doesn't matter where their skill set is. The brain works that sort of way, and you start like thinking about invention sometimes. So maybe there's a listener out there that could be
Mhm.
inspired or get some information here. So
So yeah, I'll talk about it, but to be upfront, I really did not know about Magic the Gathering cards before I met this gentleman.
yep.
I'm learning about it as we go along. But it's an interesting story, and to me, it's anybody, if you've got an idea, it's possible to get your idea from concept really into the market.
Yeah.
And this guy did it and is doing it in such a fabulous way that to me, it's a great story. So the gentleman's name is Jonathan, and he's a computer something, analyst, or I don't know. He does something in computers. He likes his job. He's married. He's got a kid. But he was really into the magic cards and the gathering, and he's been playing it for years, and he's a big collector, and he knows a lot about the cards. And I had this idea, you were, saying that it's you have to sort these cards. And then you have a lot of these cards, and it's very time consuming of how you do that. So he came up with an idea, a way of how to sort these cards. And because he's into the computers, he understands that there's a cloud-based data source that he knows how to tap into. So if he has a picture of a card, he's able to send it up to the cloud, validate the card, get a reading on that card, and then be able to capture that and keep that. And he said, if I take that technology that exists and put together a machine that will be able to read the card to send it up there, and then be able to place it into the right compartment by whether it be alphabetical, numerical, or color. There's a lot of different ways that you can sort them. That this would probably be a good thing. And so he came to Beyond Design probably about a year ago. And I wrote a proposal for him, and he looked at it and said, I really appreciate it. He was very nice about it. But he said it was too much money. And I was just like, oh, well, I understand, but I'm not going to take the risk, especially on an entrepreneur.
Right.
So he then proceeded to go to M-Hub. M-Hub is I don't know if it's a state or city funded or private funded, but it's where designers and engineers get together. It's a physical space. It's a building,
It's like
and
a
they've been
maker
around for a
space
long time.
almost.
It is a maker space on steroids because
Okay.
it's also run like a business,
Oh, cool.
where they have lots of educational classes and people coming in. I know the governor has been there numerous times. So it's a cool space. So he went there and he found an independent, I guess, industrial designer who teamed up with some independent electrical person, and they did the project for him. And that's what's on Kickstarter. And they did a really great job. They hired somebody to do the video, and they did this video. And then, of course, they're able to edit the video to make it look like it's running faster, to make it look like it's doing certain things. It's all behind the scenes magic. But then I asked him also, I said, well, what else? How did you get the success that he did? And he said that he spent $30,000 on like the advertising, social media, really going to his audience. And
Mm.
and he built again, excuse me for my lack of knowledge, a discourse. You know what discourse?
Discord.
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 He got a Discord. So now he's got this audience that he's really talking to. So with this prototype that sort of worked, and with the video, he was able to raise over $2.3 million in a couple of hours. And
Wow.
it's like unbelievable. Like it's truly a great story. If you look on Kickstarter and you look up Card Mill, you're gonna find, all the information I was just talking about.
And we'll put a link to that in the show notes below
Yeah.
as well. And it is cool looking, and it's just like a little box, and so when he came to you with the prototype, are you guys redesigning it from the ground up? Like, how does that work? Because I imagine you have to like
It was
reinvent some of it.
interesting. It was interesting because he came back. He goes, I don't know if you remember me. I'm like, yeah, I remember you. And he's like, well, kind of here's what's happened. And I'm like, okay, went to M Hub, he had it built, and he raised $2.3 million.
Boom, mic drop.
So my eyes kind of said, okay, this guy's for real, right? And I looked at what he had. He brought the prototype in, and I was really commending him on the design and just everything about it. It was very well thought out. But
Yeah.
remember, I just saw it for the first time. So as we started to look at it, we're like, well, there's got to be a better way to do this, a better way to do that, and it was really looking at it from a mechanical engineering and kind of an interface way and dissecting part by part to make it better and to make it reliable is really the big thing.
Right. So taking it from like a working prototype to like you can sell this to consumers. It's not going to break. It's going to work at speed and at quantity and last a long time, kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And so to do this, we don't specialize in the electronic side of it. So what we did was we brought in a third-party company called DMC, and they were able to be part of our team in developing this product. So a lot of times it's which comes first, the chicken or the egg. So we took
Right.
the leap on that and said, okay, we brainstormed about how to make it better. We're now going to just build it in 3D. And we did. It wasn't perfect, but it took the initial concept that we were able to compare to the initial concept, this new idea. And it really had to do more rather than a conveyor belt moving, it was really more of a dump truck taking the cart and dumping it.
Mm.
And so it was dramatically different, but there was great reasons why we were doing that. And the goal was to get now this team of electrical, mechanical, the client, everybody on board to say, here's the platform that we're going to go after, and we're going to start developing it. And so the electronics really understood what we were doing and where they could jump in very quickly to start developing the controls that we needed because it was collaboration. So that
Yeah.
worked out really beautifully. And we've just been continuing to improve, find areas that are of concerns, putting sensors in, making it to a point where it can get ready. So here's the key thing is designers and having been in this business for a long time, it's great that we're designing it, both electrical and mechanical. Now what? What do you do? And so I know a company, they're in the US and they've been around for over 30 years as well. And what they do is they have people on the ground in different countries, a lot in China, where they take our CAD files and we meet with them and they make those introductions to the qualified manufacturers. So the designers and the engineers are actually conversing with manufacturing so that we can make changes as necessary before final release to manufacturing. And again, we're
Nice.
building models, they're building models, collaborating. And we say like, wow, we'd really like to do it in the US. But when you start to do it in the US, the pricing for the assembly, it's not just the parts, but it's the
Yeah.
assembly is what really it kills it. So some products go to or countries like China, but other projects that we're working on, they're specifically made in the U.S. They're a little bit
Right.
more challenging, I'll tell you that though.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. And that's the multi, the international economy and like all the different ways that currency exchanges and tariffs and God knows, a lot of our other clients had a lot of products they were importing from overseas, and then people start throwing tariffs on things, and like your cost went from $1 to $4, and it's like, oh my god, I'm losing money now, and so all of that is it's a crazy time we're living in on that
It
side of
is,
things.
and how do you manage that? And hmm, I think of it as it's a global problem or problem that has to be solved. And the products that we make come from all over the world and we need each other. Um, that's how I'd like to look at it. But at
Yeah,
the same time, I look at the resources that are closest to us in the United States to see and still push, can we do this?
right, like
So,
Mexico or Canada and that kind of stuff. Is that what you were
yeah.
saying? Yeah.
Yeah, I am. I'm curious what other people, listeners and such that, what are they doing? What are they thinking? And how are they getting around this? And, because everybody always says, oh, well, we have to raise our prices. And I keep looking and I'm like, well, a donut used to cost 50 cents.
Yeah.
A donut now costs $1.50. And
Yeah, or
we still
more.
buy it or more,
Yeah.
more. That's right.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just even like looking at the numbers. I did a promotional campaign with the business and for our 20th year anniversary, right? Like we've been in business for
Mhm.
20 years. I was like 2026, you're going to 2006 prices for 2026. And I started looking at like the exchange of like what, a dollar was worth then is like it's basically like 60% difference in 20 years. Like that's crazy. And we're still hitting a curve, I think. So and then no, it's more than that. It was like a dollar then would be $1.60 now, I think is how that works. So it's like I don't know. I haven't had my whole cup of
It,
coffee
it,
this morning, but
it's out of control. And
yeah,
sad to say, as designers, um, we are starting, if we've already been being hit with it, but
yep,
price erosion and value. Um, you so I've got two stories. One is a dentist who's a client that we've developed a couple of products for.
okay,
And all of a sudden he comes to me and he shows me this new advertisement for his new product with packaging and a display, the whole 9 yards. I'm like, wow, this is really great. Who did the work for you? Where'd you get it? He was so proud. He goes, I did it myself with AI. I have
mm,
Adobe AI and it was able to create this. I looked at that and I'm like, well, it's kind of ugly, but it works.
yeah,
It could be worse.
yep,
And he was so proud of it that, I'm not going to criticize it. But I was like, my job, our services, what we do, it's just disappeared.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, so this conversation comes up in every facet of creativity right now. Yeah, yeah. Look, so the low level commoditization of our work. And like you said, like this guy was proud because he's not a creative, he's not a designer, and he was able to produce something that was decently garbage looking, good enough, right? Like, and he doesn't know that it
Mhm.
looks like shit because he's not trained in design, right? Like, he doesn't even know what things are wrong and like the subtle things that are being communicated that like just goes over his head because he's a specialist in whatever he's a specialist in. Um, so yeah, we're in this space right now where like that whole bottom of the market's really troublesome, and it's creating issues for entry level designers to find viable work to be able to build a career to become a senior creative designer of some whatever, right? So that is problematic, and just putting a lot of garbage out in the world, unfortunately, as well.
I relate it to when typesetting was a thing. I don't know if you remember typesetting.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I got out of school, typesetting was a machine and a job that somebody had to type in all of the text, and then it would come out in a font and a nice black and white that would get pasted up. That would be part of, it was a whole process that you had to do.
Yeah, yeah.
But
All the little
types,
letters just stacking in there, and the little spacers and the kerning and lighting, and yeah,
exactly. And so that was a typesetting. Well, when the Mac came out, Macintosh, and all of a sudden you can create your own graphic and your own letterhead. Everybody who was in typesetting basically was losing their jobs
yep,
because people could do it themselves. But what happened was the technology got more difficult because there were more features, so it became more specialized, which is
yep,
good for the designers if you gravitate and you learn the new skills.
yep,
At the same time, um, the skill level of being a designer was still appreciated. Meaning, like, yeah, I
sure,
could do it, but I'm just not as good. You seem to know how to do that better than I do. You're more creative, and
right,
so they held on to the jobs. Now with I kind of look at it as it's the same thing if you look at it, through those same eyes. If I can learn how to use AI, I can become more efficient. I can be part of it as opposed to being afraid of it.
yeah. So I mean, it's two. Go ahead. You got
I,
there's
that was
something.
just that
Oh,
was that I was just thinking of an older gentleman that, when I was young and he was older and Photoshop was coming on the scene, I watched him learn Photoshop at age 60.
yeah, and Photoshop's never gone away, and it's a part of this journey still.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's twofold. It is exactly that. It is innovation. It is disruptive. It is eating old careers and making new careers. Right. Like um,
Hmm.
I think that this huge push into digital is going to be even more like this digital AI, everything's easier kind of stuff. We're going to see a rise, I think, on the backside of people really appreciating the legacy, tactile, traditional media type of things as well, more than they did previous. It's almost like if I wrote you a letter and mailed it to your house, that's way more impactful than if I sent you an email, right?
Hmm.
Where but for a while maybe that wasn't. It was exciting to get an email, like you got a computer and like all, you know what I mean. But so there's that part of it, and all of that's disruptive. And yes, I am fully in support. Like anyone that's a creative in the world right now, any type of design, you should absolutely be understanding and diving into this technology and understanding what it is and what it isn't, what its limitations are, and how, if you choose so, to embrace that so that you can be competitive in the marketplace however you decide to position yourself, right? And that might be like you lean backwards into like, I'm just going to do, like, I've got a friend that has a letterpress and does typesetting still and makes decent money and has a nice life, but it's very niched and very nuanced, right? That said, the big difference right now, and the thing that I fight with all the time at the Graphic Artist Guild, and that we're standing up for, we're always trying to protect creators' rights and copyrights, right? The big problem right now is that all of our intellectual property was stolen to create data sets that are now offsetting our jobs and our careers right now, right? So trying to navigate that space of like, hey, you know what? the technology's not necessarily bad. It's amazing and innovative, and there's cool stuff. But you stole our shit to make it. So like, let's
Yeah.
let's recoup that.
Yeah.
Let's recenter this. Let's make some ethical data sets where the people actually decided to opt in and say, hey, you can use my work to train on, and I'm going to get credit and compensation. And you know, and I gave you consent, right? So those are the big things that we champion: the credit, compensation, and consent. Um, but I think, you know, those can be, there's ethical ways to do this, right? Versus just like using whatever data set from wherever. And at the end of the day, like a year and a half ago when this started to boom last summer, my business took a huge hit, right? And a lot of our big corporate clients were just like, oh, was this get the, you know, so and so to run some AI, and like it just produced at best beautiful garbage that didn't have any of the nuance and storytelling and intentional design decisions in it.
Mhm.
And you know, what they really realized quickly was that we still need these really well trained professionals to make the high quality stuff that we need them to make, because we can get close to it, but it's still not what we need for the top end of the market. But the bottom end of the market, where it's like,
Mhm.
hey, I got a mom and pop shop and I'm just doing XYZ and I didn't have a budget in the first place. I was going to hire someone on Fiverr, and or I was going to like offer somebody like exposure. Like that part is getting completely crushed. And I don't know what that looks like moving forward. It's kind of like, I'm grateful that, you know, I'm middle aged and not like young coming into this, but like, yeah, I've embraced. I'm building my own LoRa models with just art that I
Right.
own and that my team created, so that we can, you know, create things faster and better, and do like, how do we create full motion, you know, how do we create full animations that are like feature length 2 hours that would take a team of 100 before AI with my, you know, 5 to 10 homies. Like that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking at right now. How do we create a token level world with just my best friends, you know, instead of like taking 50 years and a whole lifetime? We can do it in a couple months with AI assisted, you know, large learning models and LoRa models and, you know, all that. So
Yeah.
yeah, but like I don't want to do it in a way that steals other people's stuff either. So it's navigating that whole
Right.
thing is a lot.
Well, so we did an experiment. It was probably about 2 years ago, maybe, because this is right when the explosion of AI was coming. And again, I'm the type of person that I want to head it straight on. I want to know what it is
Yep.
rather than just being fearful of, oh my God, what are we going to do? So we made up a project, and the project that we made up was a leaf blower. And we started with AI, and we have a process in our design process, right? We do research, we then do some brainstorming, we come up with ideas, we start to sketch, we start to build models, we start to get into CAD, we make the things, we test them. It's a process that we go through. And so we were trying to do that in comparison to AI and trying to interject AI into every point that we could. So it started with ChatGPT, right? We're doing a leaf blower, trying to give it some definition, what it might be. And then we started looking into Midjourney. And so we started typing stuff into Midjourney, like, oh, wow, look at this. This is kind of cool. And I remember throwing out to the designers, I said, what about having drones collect the leaves and blow the leaves, kind of like sheepdogs herding sheep, right? And all of a sudden we type
Around the
that
edges,
in,
blowing them. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
and the next thing you know, we've got dogs with blades on it blowing leaves, in a group.
Yeah.
And so it was from a sentence, a words, all of a sudden into these visuals, into communication. So no, we're not using it for what it is, or as a product, but we're using it to be inspired and for communication purposes. And we're able to do that faster. And so kind of our outtake on the AI, especially with the mid journey, is it allows us to mix and match and be creative where we might not otherwise do that. And it does it really fast.
Yeah.
And so when you do those kinds of things and you put them up on the wall and then you have discussions around it, it does lead to something extraordinary.
Yeah, it's really cool to be able to visualize things so quickly. And it can really help sort of eviscerate creative block, right? I mean, I've been stuck on things a few times, and I'll jump into any of the chat bots that are available and just like start going like, I'm trying to do this thing, and like I don't want it to be this, I don't want it to be that, I don't want it to be this, and I need these things, and then it'll shoot out whatever it shoots out, and it's probably garbage, but it might have some spark in there. It might have one little, and if you do that 10 times, all of a sudden you have, even if you have 10 terrible ideas, it's helping you understand why those ideas are terrible. And now you're formulating, oh, well, I don't like this and that. And that. Next thing you know, you start to have actual definitions of what you're looking for. And it just helps you work through a thing, I think. And it's really quite powerful. And for someone like me, I'm really ADD. And I have lots of great ideas, but I've always struggled to aggregate the things together. So being able to just like literally record myself brain dumping this kind of all over the place idea and having a machine be able to take that all, convert it to text, organize it, sort it, ask me some questions, and make it like make sense is insanely powerful. It helps me overcome a literal disability.
I didn't
That's
even think of
amazing.
it that way, but yes, it does.
Yeah, it's really amazing. I just feel like it's helping me unlock all these different superpowers of my creativity because I've wanted to build and make everything. I made this desk that I'm standing at. Like I like to craft things and build. I put a roof on my house, and like I started a company, and I know how to paint and draw and sculpt. And I like to. I took my washing machine apart the other day because it was broken and it was flooding on the floor, and I just started taking pictures of shit and asking Chat GPT. I'm like, what is this? Like this is the model. Boom, boom, boom. How do I? And it starts like digesting information on the internet, and it didn't have the exact answer for me, but it got me close enough. I was able to fix it. I fixed my, instead of replacing a water machine, this washing machine, it's like $2,000. Like I spent a Friday night just taking it apart in my garage and tinkering, and like, it was amazing. It felt so good. But it's like when you have like this, like, hey, here's the collective consciousness of human knowledge, just like over here, you could ask questions of, and it might make some shit up, it might not, but like there's you can get somewhere. It's really enabling. Like I don't know, like,
Mhm.
and
And
I was
then
sharing you
that's
earlier, like, sorry, I'm on a tirade, but I don't know how to 3D model like that. My team does, but I've never done it, and I always wanted to. But I was able to sketch. This logo started off as a sketch, and then we vectored it out, and then I
yep.
put it in a 3D software. I think I put it in Meshy, and Meshy converts, and I had to run like 6 renders, and one of them was able to produce this from just my vector simple line art of my logo. And then I was able to print it out and paint it and sculpt, and like now I can make things, and like it allows me to bridge gaps because the ideas and the knowledge were there. I just didn't understand the specific tools, so the
Yeah.
tools are changing now. So yeah,
That's
yeah,
exactly it. The tools are changing.
yeah,
In some cases, there's jobs being lost. I remember I was talking to a potential client, and he was telling me that they lost 150 creatives just like that. And I go, "What do you mean you lost them? Where'd they go?" Well, they got let go. I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "AI."
yeah.
And I'm like, "But someone's got to run the AI." He's like, "It's
Right.
enough where the people who are asking for the work from creative can actually do it themselves." And
Yeah. So this disruptive phase is painful, right? Like because as you know, creatives, we're the first people to get cut from the budget. We're the first people who are like, oh, we don't really need that. Like, oh, we don't need marketing. We don't need creative. Well, it doesn't have to be nice or pretty or polished or like we can just crudely slap some shit together, right? And now they're like that's being reinforced with, oh, and anybody can just do it with some prompts on the keyboard. But what I do think happens here after the dust settles, right after this is acclimated and people understand the limitations and that you need the technical experts to run this thing to be able to make it execute on the highest level. But I think on the flip side, like people are going to be able to band together with less needs anymore. We're not going to need the big funders and the big money and all the gatekeepers to keep us from creating things. I mean, you see that like this guy with the card sorting thing, Jonathan and his Magic the Gathering card sorting. There was a time in recent history where like there wasn't a crowdsourcing platform and there wasn't ways to do this efficiently. And now like these tools are making things more and more accessible. So it's really about the ideas and the communities that are supporting each other, right? So we
Mhm.
we won't need Disney eventually to own all of creative stuff, and like like I got I'm like one of my bucket list things is just to like you tell Disney like no thanks, like I want to make something so cool they try to buy it, and I'm just like I don't need you, you know. So like that's the glass half full for me. Like how many like groups of friends like have these great ideas and can now bring it to life fully by learning the new tools, right?
Mhm. There's also another side of it is people being connected under specialties.
Mm,
So we're really good at doing the design and doing the CAD work and, engineering, but we don't do the electronics. So we're
Right.
able to partner with somebody who specializes in electronics. And if I needed somebody to specialize in sales or marketing or packaging, the clients are more acceptable for smaller agencies. I don't really like to be called an agency, but smaller companies to be able to extend their capabilities through their network,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And it's kind of bringing it together, like, you're on the East Coast, I'm in Central Time Zone, and we're communicating and sharing information. And it's fabulous. No, you couldn't do this like before COVID, right?
Yeah.
Um, I remember as a kid going to Disney World and going to the future. I forget what they called it. You go on the ride and they'd show the
Hmm.
future. I remember there'd be these little mock-ups of people in the home talking on TV screens, and it was just made up. It was just little things. But I was like, wow, you think someday that we're going to be able to actually look at each other while we're talking to each other? And then I kind of lived through some of the technology, and people didn't want to look at each other. They
Yeah.
just there was a huge resistance that people didn't want it. But then
Right.
COVID happened,
Yeah.
and COVID changed everything.
Right. Because that was better than nothing. So like, let's start Zoom chatting. Right. Like, yeah, it
Well,
did change.
I think that connectivity, I mean, in person is always the best.
Of
But
course.
I'm able
It's
to look at
always.
you and talk to you and see your facial expressions, and likewise, and we're connecting in that way. So, I think that we've advanced, right? Like, when was the last time
Mm.
you had a phone call that was a phone call and not a video call?
I haven't had one in a long time that wasn't something not business related, right? Like,
Yeah.
my mom still calls me. Like, I don't video chat my mom, right? Like, yeah, 100%. It's just the changing landscape. And you've seen so much of it. I think about the fact like my grandfather was an entrepreneur and he came over here from Greece with a little toolbox apparently, and he could fix anything like from escalators and elevators to cars to whatever, right? So he ends up building his little enterprise, and like it became a huge thing, right? They were like hailing General Screw, and they like shipped screws and bolts all over the planet, right? And he bought some like manufacturing company that did like submarine doors and helicopter bearings and had government contracts, doing that stuff for the Navy and the Army. Um, but I say that to say, like, I think about him sometimes because he died in '83. I was born in '85, and like I probably get more done in one day than he could do in months, right? Like, what did it take to just correspond about a contract? What did it like? You had to go somewhere or mail a letter, like, or maybe phone calls, like, but like that isn't going to get like, so like he had phone calls, right? Like he was making phone calls, but like the amount of stuff that like I can do in one day would have taken him a month or more, and some of it maybe like years. Who knows, right? And it's just crazy. Like, and you have to keep up with the pace of technology in order to be relevant, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're still trying to typeset some stuff and get like fair margins, it's not like a craft offshoot. Like it's not the same industry anymore, right? Like I said, my friend
Mhm.
does typesetting, but it is the what she does is nothing like the old school, like, hey, we're running the newspaper today and we need to put out 100,000 copies, right? Like that is gone, right? That runs on a digital off machine that you know what I mean, like, and you can make an edit right now and like update it and print some new ones, like, yeah. So it's just all crazy to think about, but yeah, wow, this is I
But the
could,
point is
yeah,
the point is really just, you've got to stay on par with the technology and the changes. If you stop and forego it, you'll just kind of settle and it will pass you by. And there's
right,
not a problem with that if you're okay with that. But if you're young and you need to be employed and employable, well, it
yeah,
matters.
yeah, 100%. Well, that it has to be a great place to come up to this final question here for the show. This has been a lot of fun. Went really fast too. Oh my god. Um, before we wrap, I'd like to ask you this, one last question. Is there anyone or anything in your career that you'd like to shout out to the audience? Maybe a mentor, a valuable resource, a favorite client?
Favorite client would be this card mill that we're working on with Jonathan. Very wholesome individual, honest individual, smart individual. He doesn't come from manufacturing or design or engineering. His passion are these magic cards. And he had this idea, and the fact that we're able to help him is great. We do that for all of our clients. But the reason why I really call shout out to him, his kindness, his understanding, and probably his trust in us.
Oh,
Right?
cool.
Trust in Beyond Design. Our goal is to get him the best product, have him be successful, help teach him, what we know, not just about design and engineering, but about business and strategy. And I'm also learning from him. But I think it's just because he's a true person and a really nice guy, and we want him to succeed.
I love that. I mean, and that's the win-win, right? Like when people know what they know and they find the right people and you guys can build trust together and then go to market and hopefully make some money, right? Like that's a beautiful thing. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Hmm.
Uh, and big shout out to LinkedIn. That's where you and I got connected, doing a little networking on there. So I always like to shout out how I got connected with my guests. We do a lot of just like outreaching to people, and like we added you and sent you a message, and you were receptive, and here we are. We're friends now. You've been on the podcast. We had a couple meetings. Like this is cool. So
I love it.
um, yeah, me too. And again, that digital connectivity, like that wasn't a thing. Like like now it is. So that's cool. But yeah, so we've been talking with Michael Prince. You can check him out at beyonddesign.com. But if listeners want to follow up with you directly, is there a better place to go?
They could email me at michael@startbeyond.com. And I'd really like your listeners if they could go to cardmill.com and check out that product. If you're able to post it at all, it's on Kickstarter. But it sounds like you've got an audience that really likes Magic cards, so they
I
love this
believe
product.
for sure. I believe that at least 70% of our audience knows about what Magic cards are, and will probably be excited to check that out. So, and I'll send it along to some of our friends as well. So awesome. Well, thank you so much, Michael. It's really fun. Glad to have you on the show, and we will see you all next time, everybody. Take it easy.
Thank you much.
We really hope you enjoyed the show. Please like and subscribe to join us on our next journey through the world of art and business on the Pixel Retentive Podcast.